Well, hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me in my shop. Today is May 28th, a very special day because it's day one on this radio. This radio is the widest stand-up radio like that I have ever seen. In fact, it's ridiculously wide. And the image on the camera doesn't quite do it justice, but it's just about wider than it is tall. It's a gigantic beast. So what I'm going to do today is going to take a look at it in the cabinet. Then I doubt I'm going to operate it while it's in the cabinet. I'll then extract the receiver and the speaker out of it, kind of push the cabinet off to the side, and try to get the speaker and the receiver up on my bench there, which is empty and waiting for it. So let's start by taking a close look at the radio in its cabinet here. Okay, let's start by taking a look at the cabinet here. It's a big one, but you know, this is typical. The condition of this cabinet is typical of these radios. They look a little worse than they actually are. So they're going to have some stroke marks on the wood here and there where they've taken a hit with something, and there's just a couple on the front here, not much at all, but might be grabbing your eye without you realizing it, is right in here, this area right here, which looks ratty. But you see how this front face is actually painted. This is a painted area of the radio here, and this is where most of the obvious damage is. You can easily paint this little piece here and make all that disappear. You wouldn't see it anymore. Your eye wouldn't be pulled to it. So similarly, the trim areas on a radio like this are often the areas that take the beating, and they can be just repainted. If we look down at the bottom here, it's a little ways down from here. This radio has a kick area down here where it expects people to bang into it with chair legs and other stuff like that, maybe a cat or two. This area is painted. You can paint this again. Again, all disappears. This area here, this is painted, and it's taken some knocks. You could paint this, or you could probably just darken these down and they would disappear. And these marks, some of this is dirt and would wash off. A lot of it are scratches, but all this can be repaired really easily. So what I'm saying is you can take a radio which at a glance looks kind of ratty at a glance, but in fact it would take very little effort to make it look almost new. These radios, often the big flat panels, are in really good shape. Maybe a little bit of polishing and that's about it. You can look at the side here a little bit, but the side is fine. The top. Now the top of these radios takes a bit of a beating. There's no doubt about it. They act as a table, and people put stuff on it, and people put things on it that eventually leave marks like this, or like that. This particular radio, the top of it is flat. There's some curved stuff down the front here, but the top is flat. The importance of that is if you choose to redo the top, and I've done this on a radio, just the top, because of the sharp edge here, the flat surface, this is easy. You can redo this. It's not impossible to redo. But you can also leave it the way it is, put a doily on top, maybe do a little work on this, make it less visible. I have heard and I have tried using a hot air blower on a mark like this, and reduced it on a radio I was working on by heating up the coating of the radio. You can drive the moisture out. This is a moisture stain, and it returns to being almost normal. Worked for me in one case. I've only tried that in one case. So that's the story of these radios. You may come across one like this at a yard sale or something, and at a glance it looks like a beater, but a closer look, it may not be so bad at all. Now, this one's got a speaker cloth with a big stain on it here. Unfortunately, that's pretty ugly. I don't know about cleaning a cloth like that. It's a lovely cloth. Look at the way they've patterned it down like this. So I'm not sure what you can do about that other than replace it, and replacing the cloth is not And again, it's not a really difficult job. Okay, great. Now let's look at the dial face. So for 10 years I have had a dial face in a box, and I had no idea what radio it came from. And I just hung on to it because it's a radio dial. It turns out it's exactly this one. It's this one. And I can't find it right now. I don't know where it is. It's in a box somewhere. So oddly enough, someone has brought me the radio that fits the dial that I have in a box. Of course, this dial is in beautiful shape. This is glass, of course. Has a plastic bezel around it, which is also in great shape. A little bit of a crack down here. But the buttons look really terrible. What exactly has happened to these? I don't know. This has got some junk on it. You know, I wonder if somebody didn't try taping something over the top of these, or gluing something over the top of them, and then pick them all off. I don't know. It's really, really terrible looking, but there's definitely something's been done to them. So this button says dial of remote. Dial of remote. We'll understand that better in a few minutes. And this one is missing its name completely. The rest aren't. WGR, CKCL, CFRB, WBEN. These are Buffalo radio stations here. This one's gone. CKTB, WYBV. Never heard of that. Dial tuning. Oh, I didn't notice this. So what do you have to do? Ooh. These guys are in bad shape. Pointer moves. Ooh. Wow. Okay. Buttons not so good. Let's go a little lower here. I'm just going to hit my camera here. Okay, so here you can see that it's an RCA. Can you see the dog listening to the speaker here? RCA Victor. And the knobs are all correct knobs. And if you look at the wear on them, you can see here the wear, very heavy wear around this one. I think, you know, if you're thinking of refinishing something like this is what you're going to lose. You're going to lose the history of the radio. You're going to lose this off the radio unless you do some weird masking thing, which will really be obvious in the end. And I don't think you'll ever get it to look like it looks now. You'd have to be a very, very skilled refinisher with all the right stuff to make this look like it did when it was brand new. So I really discourage the heavy refinishing side of it. I know a lot of people grab these radios and that's really what their intention is to refinish the cabinet. They don't know what to do with the guts, and you know, that's where I step in, of course. I can take care of the guts, but a lot of people want to refinish these things. I don't know. You know, this curved surface, yikes. Another curved surface down here too. Okay, so that's the story on the front. I'm going to stop for a bit, we'll spin the radio around and we'll take a look at the back. Okay, I overlooked one thing, and that is just looking at the dial plate, what have we got here? So right in the middle is the broadcast band. It's labeled A. And then we have the 31 meter band, 19 meter band, 25 meter band, and oh, that's 19 up here. What's this? 49 meter band. So basically 15 megahertz, 11 megahertz, 9 megahertz, and 6 megahertz. Those are the common shortwave bands, but not a lot on them these days. Not since the United States withdrew from shortwave a couple weeks ago. Overnight, boom, just gone. And I really noticed it. So I guess a lot of the stuff I was hearing on shortwave, and there isn't a lot to hear to begin with, but a lot of the stuff I was hearing, I guess, was actually American, and just in a foreign language, and I didn't realize it. Because, boy, is it quiet now on shortwave. Still stuff to pick up, though. And not just at broadcast, there's other things you can try to pick up, but maybe not with this particular kind of radio. This radio is really focused on these broadcast bands, so it's really meant to to tune in foreign stations, foreign countries and the like. Just given the way the world's going, I wonder if there won't be a renaissance for shortwave radio. The reason being that, it's here, people have receivers, and the internet can be controlled by a government. But the shortwave, not so easy to stop one country from talking to your people via shortwave, but pretty easy on the internet. So I wonder if shortwave won't have some kind of renaissance. I doubt it. Okay, I just wanted to look at this dial face a little more. Oh, also, what's going on in here? So in here, take a closer look. It's a magic eye in there. I have a weird place to put a magic eye. It's a weird. That's weird. And over here, so this is the band indicator. Part of the number there is 49. You can just barely see it. And when I switch bands, it doesn't move. So the band indicator is failing to move. So you see the designers wanted a balanced look, so they put a window here and they put a window here, and they made them both square. But really, this eye deserves a much better window. So, up there. Okay, my tripod is collapsing here. Okay, let's look in the back now. Okay, let's have a look at the back. First of all, wow, pretty roomy. There's room for more radios in here. There's the speaker down below there. Power cord. So the power cord is pooched. It's badly cracked in here, and you really don't want to plug that in. You give this a twist, the wires make contact, you get your fingers on them. It's a pretty flexible cord. It must be a natural rubber cord. It's very old. Now, well, it might be good enough. Well, we'll examine it more carefully when it's up on the bench, but maybe we just need to cut this off and put a new plug on it. Often I'm replacing these entire cords though. So, now looking at the radio itself, there's an antenna wire. We can get rid of this. This is a horrifying thing here. Just don't think bare copper wire is a good thing to be slinging around a radio like this. This is all bare. Oh no, it isn't. This is bare up in here. Okay, so what am I removing it from here? I'm removing it from a broken piece. This should be up here, and there's a wire that's come off here. And this should be turned around. So this is it looks like A3, A2, and G. A3. Okay, there's an odd ground wire connection here, which runs up to the back of this weird thing here. I've never seen anything quite like this. This is a really weird looking thing. It looks like you can slide these things around. Or is this a big turning disc? I think this disc turns. I think maybe when you tune the radio, the whole disc turns. Well, that is weird. What is that all about? That is a strange. That's a strange beast there. Let's take a closer look at. Well, later we get it up on the bench, we'll have a closer look. But let's look now. This is one of the weirdest looking things I've seen in a radio. It's from another planet or something. So I'm going to tune the radio, and yeah, that whole wheel is turning. What in heaven's name is it? What have they done? Okay, some more interesting stuff. Here's a capacitor just hanging loose here from the back of this, I believe. And it appears to be cut. The wires here are all cracked. Can you see that? Insulation is just, if I bend this wire, the insulation will just flake right off it. Same here. This is often the case with flexible wires. Oddly enough, the wires that were intended to be flexible had insulation, which I guess some of the components were volatilizing, and in the end it becomes stiff and just cracks. So anywhere you see where they intended the wires to be flexible for some reason, often this is what you find. The wires are shot. Why would these be flexible? Well, this is a rotating piece, so maybe these wires connect to the rotating. Yeah, they do. They connect right onto this plate here. Huh. Well, we'll take a closer look at that for sure. The radio has all of its tubes. This is a vacuum tube right here. There's this thing. What is this? This thing looks like you should plug a vacuum tube sticking out here, but I know what this is. There's a push button on the front that said remote control. You could buy, I guess, a remote control for this radio and sit in your comfy chair and remote control it. I guess. Exactly what the remote control would do, I don't know. I would guess tuning and volume. You could, put eight wires on here. In fact, look at how many wires there are. That's an unusual feature. So I think, judging from the size of the radio, this is probably one of the more expensive radios you could buy. This sort. Here's the model number right here. Oh, it looks like 911 kg. Let me be sure here. Yeah, 911 kg. Serial number 279. 120 watts. Inspected by a lot of people. Okay, I think from here, how's the speaker done? Let's just figure that out. So you can see the wire going down here through the hole. That would be the speaker. Oops, the speaker. So we just pop this guy off here. He hasn't been off for a while. Oh my gosh, there we go. Okay, we can take the speaker out, which I need. You have to have this speaker up with the radio, because the speaker has a field coil in it in here, which forms part of the power supply. And without the speaker plugged in, the radio just has no hope of working. Okay, from here, it's up to here. So I'm going to drink a little bit of coffee, and then I'm going to get it up on the bench here. We'll take another look at it. Okay, let's take a look at the speaker here. So the speaker is held in place with these grommets here. And to avoid compressing the grommet, I have this sleeve inserted in them. So it might look like this. And then you're putting, and the screw is coming up through it, and then you're putting the nut down until it hits this rim here. You can't tighten it past that, and that avoids squeezing these too much. Now this particular one here, I'll just put my fingers through the speaker. This particular one here is in really good shape. Most of them, though, are like this. They're squished down, they may have even cracked, they've gone hard, they've fallen right out. With them in place, the speaker is held fairly well. With these things rotted away, and with this collar stopping the nut from clamping right down on the metal, the speaker can become loose, become rattly, potentially rattly. Also, you really want to try to maintain an air seal through here onto the front of the radio. Now there's nothing special in here. I don't see, like, often there's some kind of foam or material in here jute-like material or something of that sort to press up against the radio. Let me just look in there. Nothing at all. So this one, they're just bolting the speaker right up against the wood. With a speaker like this, when it's out of its cabinet and maybe sitting like this or whatever, you play the speaker, the bass will not be reproduced well at all. And the reason for that, why these speakers, when they're out of their cabinets, my cat is coming, they don't seem to have any bass, is because the air is essentially short-circuiting. As the speaker pushes the air out, the air has a chance to go around and be sucked into the back, because there's a sucking action at the back when there's a pushing action at the front. And so you get, now this can only happen with the lowest frequencies. The highest frequencies, there just isn't time to get the air to move. So the highs keep coming out nice, but the lows get shorted. Same sort of thing can happen if you have big holes in there. This is my cat Bert, by the way. So you can see there's a hole. Yeah, but you can't right now. No, not you. I'm not showing you. There's a hole right here. You can see right through it. This is where the individual, where the cone was sort of pulled around and then seamed down here. That's funny they leave that gap. I've seen this on other speakers. They just leave it. Other times they'll seal this up. You don't want air leaking through this. A lot of these speakers will develop radial cracks. They'll come in like this, all around the outer edges. And they extend downwards a bit. And eventually this part kind of rots out, if you like. But this speaker's in great shape. It really is in great shape. What are you doing there? So, now the operation of the speaker, back in the day, they couldn't produce magnets strong enough to operate a speaker like this. The voice coil that's down inside here is held in a magnetic field, and when the electricity goes through the voice coil, the magnetic field, it grips the magnetic field and pulls itself up and down. Ooh, that's a terrible looking thing I just did. Okay, but so there's no permanent magnet, so they have to create an electromagnet, which is what this coil is up here. So look at the welding in here. Wow, somebody just learning to do it maybe. Not the neatest welding. So that's why when you pull this speaker, and that's why it has more than two wires coming to it, because it needs it has two circuits coming up here. One is to drive the voice coil with the audio signal in it, and the other one is just a more or less steady current through the coil here to produce the magnetism. Okay, this is in great shape. Now when I took it out, in the process of carrying the speaker between the radio to my bench, the 3-foot journey, one of these fell onto the ground. You think I can find it? I can't find it yet. If you're going to put these back in, they got to go in with grommets, or they're going to space. You're literally going to have a rattly speaker for sure. So the other alternative is you just don't put these back in. I just bolt this right up tight to the front of the cabinet, and I don't think that's going to present any kind of problem as such. Why would they do this grommet thing? Anyway, I don't know exactly. Why not bolt the speaker right up tight? Why have it suspended by these rubbery grommets? There's probably an answer to that question. Don't chew on the end of my. Come on. Now that's how these are getting ruined. It's because of you. Yeah. I have company here this morning. No, I don't want you chewing on this kind of thing. Okay. You can chew on this. This is what this is here for. Yeah, chew on that guy. Oh my gosh. Goodness knows if I did that with my teeth, they would probably come out. They would probably shatter and come out. Okay, and I see Bert, your brother, showing up here. Oh, it's cat time in the shop. There's his brother. His brother's a little troublemaker, this guy. He's always on the go. See, just go right across my keyboard there. Are we still on? Hello? Yes. Oh, these two guys. So we got these guys just a few months ago. Well, quite a few months ago now. Six months ago, 8 months ago. And these have been just wonderful cats. These are the first cats we're keeping indoors. We've had cats for years, and they've all been outdoor cats. But we're not doing that with these two. They're going to be indoor cats. I feel so guilty about it. Okay, next thing. We're going to set this guy aside where the cats can't damage it and get the receiver up here and have a look at that. Okay, I think I can lift the radio out here. What's going on? Oh, okay, there we go. There was something funny going on there. Here it comes. Ooh, there was a wire attached under this screw here. Where does that go? What was that? Let's take a look at that. I'm curious about it. I'll just grab this camera here. Yeah, often when I'm doing these, they're, oh! What the heck? Get out of here. Made in England. What is a ping pong ball doing in there? Oh, I said ping pong ball and look who showed up. Oh, this will be the toy of the decade here. I'm not going to throw it out there just yet. So if you notice, the buttons have stayed back in the panel. You push the button, there's a lever here that swings. This does not seem to be right at all. And it just engages with buttons that are on the chassis, which is now out of here. See, huge bolts holding this thing in. These are monsters to get out. And it has a metal plate. The plate is screwed down and nailed down in the back here. Again, there's the pointer. Oh my god, how did I get this? The pointer's still up here. What happened when I pulled out the radio? Did I break the string? How did it come off? Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Oh, it's still here. Wow. I must have dodged a bullet there. How did this come off the pointer without breaking? But it sure looks like it was right here. This string's pretty ratty. Might as well just keep going with a close-up camera here. This isn't really a close-up camera, it's just a camera I use for close-ups. That's what it is. So here's this weird thing in the back. Spring-loaded contacts on a rotating plate connected to the capacitor. It's a three-section capacitor. A lot of tubes in this radio. Can you see them under the dust? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tubes in here. What, 10? A little, what is that? That's a 6H6, I think, or something like that. That's a detector tube, a diode tube. It is dusty. Wow, this is really high on the dust. This is very fine dust spread everywhere in here. Ay, ay, ay. These tubes, they're small but have this shape to them. That makes them kind of old. It's probably, this is a 6K6. That's an output tube. This one's got a cap on it. The cap appears to be kind of partially wrecked here. It seems to be coming off the tube. Yikes! Here's a magic eye. What a filthy mess. The whole thing is a filthy mess. Here's a spring. This looks to be in a weird place. This doesn't look right. This does not look right. Just hanging out in the front here. It's a rather complicated mechanism here. This will be the when you push the button on the front, It must depress here, and it looks like it closes a switch. Closes a switch. Look, there's a light missing here. There's a light here. Well, it's got to be a light bulb there. Does this light bulb move when you tune the radio? No. No. No, it's bolted right in the cap. Oh, look at there. Way up here is a phono input. I suspected there was a phono input. How are these buttons supposed to work? Maybe they lock down. Maybe but there's usually like a sliding plate. There's another spring on this end here. I don't know, something to look into. This must be the connections down here. Sorry if my camera's focus is not keeping up with me moving it. I can't look at the monitor the whole time I'm doing this. I have to look at what I'm doing. So sometimes the video image isn't going to be good. There's the band indicator that wouldn't turn. You can see this looks like it's just dismounted here. So maybe this isn't turning because it's dismounted now. Usually these things are spring loaded, so the control pulls them one way and the spring pulls them the other way, and together they get it to the right spot. It looks like it might be a spring right inside there. But I don't feel any springiness in it at all. I don't know how else they would do it. See, there's a place for the string to go and no string on it. So look at the dial string again. What's going on here? So here's the two ends sprung, but there's another spring down there. I can turn this thing. Let me turn this, bring this up. What is this one? See, when I go a little too far, the string pulls there. Don't break it, Jen. Why is there, how does the string get three ends? I didn't hear an answer to that question. We have one end, two ends, we have three ends on the string. It's a new record. Oh, there's another string. There's two strings in here. Why do you need two strings? You need one string to do the pointer, or another string to come down to the knob. That's what they've probably done. They have two different strings doing this job. Oh, don't tune this radio because you break the string and then cry for a week afterwards, because look at it. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Right in the middle of nowhere. There's a fuse. This is bizarre. I've never seen this before. And look at the fuse holders. It just, no dust on them at all. How come? How would that be? Dust is everywhere, but not on the copper pieces there. Dust doesn't like copper. And right down here, this must be the power transformer. And for some reason they've mounted it like that, so it's protruding through the top. No, that's the power transformer. This must be the output transformer. That's pretty darn big. So, don't know what that is. Well, that's the fun of doing this, you know. Even though I've seen hundreds of radios, there's things I've never seen before. I've never seen this apparatus before. I have no clue what it does. I mean, I could take wild guesses. Anybody could, but I don't really know. Here's all the tuning alignment adjustments all lined up at the back here. Which means you can reach in from behind when this radio's in its cabinet and fool with these. These are probably all local oscillator adjustments. 1, 2, 3, 4. Too many of them. 5 of them. There's four bands? No, there's 5 bands on this radio, isn't there? Yeah, 5 bands. 5 adjustments for 5 bands. Perfect. Okay, here's some more adjustments. These are actually capacitors here. You drive this piece up and down to change the capacitance. We gotta somehow get a hold of this, There's a locking nut at the bottom that may or may not be locking it. You loosen the nut off, and then you drive this up and down. They're all, no, that one's down a little bit. I was going to say they're all up, which would be unusual. Okay, and there's some white stuff there. I don't know what that is. Who knows? It has something to do with the top of this capacitor, perhaps. So these old capacitors, can you see there's a little vent hole right in this one? Stuff happens with these old capacitors. Junk comes out of them. Almost certainly in this radio, believe it or not, there won't be a hum. You'd think, how can there not be a hum? These capacitors are there to get rid of the hum. But because it's using a field coil, there's a chance most of the de-humming is happening in the field coil, and these capacitors are actually relatively small, although frankly these are big things. These are big ones. Can we see a value? It's kind of not really. There's a serial number on them, but no written value. But a big radio like this with field coil, these are usually 10 to 15 microfarads. In a radio that does not have a field coil or a choke coil for the power supply, then these things become really big. Like 100 or 50 microfarads, 100 microfarads, or bigger, I guess. So what I'm saying is the choking effect of the field coil is very, very effective. The effect is effective. So we look at the tuning capacitor, like I mentioned earlier. There's 3 sections. That indicates this is probably a really good radio, plus with the extra tubes in the front here. This is probably a real, and when it's tuned up properly, a real performer. These are also adjustments up here. Tuning it, this one's missing, it doesn't have one here, but these are adjustments that need to be made at some point way down the road. I'm really curious about that fuse. How did that fuse get there? I've never seen a radio with a fuse in it here like this. I've never seen it. Doesn't mean it's not original, but it's kind of weird. Okay, and the 2 light bulbs, I guess they need a little bit of cleaning before they're going to shine wonderful light. Okay, I'm going to take a little break here, drink some coffee, and then we're going to look underneath the chassis and see what we can see underneath. That sounds like fun. Okay, tipping this radio up. So unfortunately the speaker wire comes out here right where this heavy transformer is. I really want to put this down. I want to tip it up this way with this at the bottom. How am I gonna do that? I'm gonna have to put some wood runners, something for it to sit on. Okay, that's the plan. Let me move this down here. Grab my wooden blocks. Okay. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if we're going to get it stable here or not. But it's heavy. It's a heavy bugger. Yeah, I don't think this we would call this stable at all. I was afraid. The transformer is gigantic. It's the major weight in the radio. It's really what I'm trying to work with here. The radio is secondary. Thicker block. Whoa. Ooh, get my finger pinched there. There. Oh, that's still not stable at all. Get most of the transformer onto the block here, I think. That's not bad, especially if I fix this one over here. Okay, even a cat can't push that over. Here, well, it's underneath. Hey, yikes. Well, we're the first ones here. Wait, there's a motor under here. That explains the whole thing. This is a motor. Oh my gosh, look at this thing. This has some kind of automatic tuning system in it. This turns very freely, by the way. Look at the gearing in here. And that's actually turning the tuning knob. It's actually turning it. Oh my god. Never seen anything like that. That probably has something to do with this part back here too. Oh, okay. A radio with a motor in it. How much did this thing cost when it was new? I mean, I've heard, I don't think I've ever had one in front of me. No, I know a motorized car radio I have had in front of me. Well, let's look this over. First of all, it is loaded with old capacitors. Probably all of them are shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. About 15 is a really big whopper up here going to the chassis. That's an important thing to notice. There's some molded ones. There's a black molded one here. But the black one up here, those are so. There's a couple up here in the front end circuits. Okay, a lot of the wires that are plastic insulated, so not these, but ones like this yellow one up here. You can just see it by my finger. Up close, it's all cracked. We'll take a close look at everything in here in a moment with the other camera. Got a big resistor down the back here. It's riveted onto the back because it gets hot, and this is the way it cooled itself off. There's a series of tuning coils that I was poking around with at the top here, up in here. So to me, what makes these radios unique from an engineering or design point of view, here comes my cat, is the coils. I think the engineers spend a lot of time on these coils, getting them right. There's a lot of aspects to a coil like that. Everything from the size of the wire, the spacing of the windings, to if it's a transformer, how far apart you put them. You can even space the windings, be tight, get loose, and then tight again, and this has an effect. There's all kinds of things that can be done with these coils. Let's flip to the close-up camera, and I'll continue on this topic here. So take a look at the winding of this coil here. Let me just let the camera settle in. Now, that's not all done by accident or convenience. That's done for some electrical reason, probably controlling the inductance or the capacitance, most likely the capacitance of the winding. How would they figure this out? My guess is all these radio design places had a shop or an area where engineers could go and experiment with this kind of stuff and try their ideas out, and with all the equipment necessary to check them. This is another coil up in here. Look at the shape of it. It's sticking out like that, and it's very narrow. So to me, these old radios, very much these coils. And you know, a tube is a tube is a tube. You can pop it from radio to radio. You can't pop this coil into another radio. It's designed for this specific radio. So when I look at these coils, that's what I think. I think it's just not you know, a bunch of wire wrapped around a thing. This is a lot of effort into getting these designed just right. That's, you know, I imagine this is the case. I think it has to be the case. Everything else, you know, they're buying off the shelf. So let's just start in the top corner here. We'll just whip through, but I don't think we're going to see anything extraordinary. Again, sorry about the focus on this camera, but I usually use it without the automatic focus on. There we are. These wires are just going every which way. There's nothing neat and tidy about this. You can see some junk coming out of this capacitor down here. This is one of the big, tall capacitors. An example of cracked wire is the green one here. You see a little crack like that, and see the split? There's a split all the way along the insulation. That's a warning sign that if you bend that wire, it's going to be bare when you're done. And there's a yellow one up here. It's really quite bad too. Yeah, this one here, that's kind of darkened. But you can see the plastic has shrunk because components have come out of the plastic. Whereas these cloth-covered wires, which you'd think, well, that's older technology. The cloth-covered wires, maybe the insulation is doing the same thing inside them, but the cloth continues to make them a properly insulated wire. Look at this one, split here, split open. And right next to it are these older, what I would think of as older, they're not older, but these cloth-covered wires are all in great shape. Yeah, beware of any of these plastic wires. So look at the ones down in here. So I mean, if you wiggle this a little bit, you can break off some insulation, maybe even like underneath the capacitor. You can't see where it's happened, or where the wire is passing a terminal but not connected. You can easily crack the insulation, and next thing you know, you got a short there. Good luck finding that. Like, look at this. Look at this yellow wire. Now, do you think that's shorted? Wow. Okay, that's quite a find. That's quite a find. Good job, Jim. Let's fix this one right now. Yellow wire. So I think I'm gonna. Where is that in here? Here it is. This one here. So I'm gonna try pulling this wire up. Using the best pliers for this. I'm also hand holding the camera, which isn't. Up you go. What do we got under there? Well, it may not have made contact, but wow. Now if I just move this yellow wire any amount, it's probably just gonna, don't do it. It's probably just gonna, don't do it. So I'm almost certain to replace this capacitor at some point anyway. I just want to clear this. Because hey, should we turn this on? See what happens? What do you think? Wow, it looks like it was not shorted, but now what's going on with the red wire? So the red wire here, I think it's just two wires that tie to that post, and then look, there's another. So the reason they use bare wires in these radios is because the connections are at ground potential. Oh, I wanted to eat my words on that, because so here, a little conflict here. Red wires usually indicate B+, a high voltage, and the bare wires usually indicate ground, and there they are, all connected together right there. So much for what I'm saying. It's definitely I guess you could say, wow, you want to turn this thing on when it's got potential short circuits in it like this? And all these whoppingly old capacitors. So the reason to turn it on is in hopes that it works to some minimal degree, as it is. If it does, then it's time to start replacing these capacitors. If it doesn't work at all, if you turn it on and nothing happens, or smoke comes out somewhere or something like that, you can't get the radio to operate, then you're in a bit of a difficult situation. Like if you went in and shotgunned all these capacitors, just change them all, and make just one little mistake, which I guarantee I would, then you've got a radio that no longer operates right and doesn't match the schematic. And if you made two mistakes, whoa. And I think this is a common thing that will happen, that people will, I don't want to turn this radio on, so I'm going to change all those capacitors, and then they make a couple of errors, they don't know it, and then they turn the radio on, it doesn't work. What do they think? They think something else is wrong. They don't think they made a mistake, and they go off looking for something else. Wow, I don't know, turn this guy on. Now I can turn it on and bring the voltage up slow and do all that kind of stuff, so I can do this in a way that minimize the risk of damage. This capacitor is very important here, I think. Is this the only? No, I'll take that back. There's lots of other connections to the chassis in here. This capacitor is not particularly important. This one looks different than the rest. Okay, we got around to the motor now. Let's take a look at this motor. What a crazy thing. It's reminds me of a record player motor. What would cause this to go back and forth? A huge amount of play in it. You can see when it's out here, it's not engaged, and then to engage, wow, bang. Isn't it supposed to be able to do this? What are these loose washers here? What are they for? The shaft is very clean where it's been going in and out, so I think, yes, I think this is part of its operation. What would happen here? You'd have this motor spinning in the radio all the time? That's crazy. That can't be the case. Oh, I know what you push the button. You close the switch up here. You energize this thing. And which mechanically begins is turning all this, turning the pointer, but it's also turning these plates back here. And was this a contact? Like it moves until this comes into contact with something and then it stops? That's probably what it is. That's probably what it is. So, so the plate, you can see through the gap there, is turning and something contacts these. I mean, look, there are all the wires on them. So obviously it's an electrical contact. And what about insulation? So they've got this insulated with a sleeve through the slot. And then this whole plate, there's not a switch. Is there there's no bumps on this plate. No, I think it's a spring-loaded contact being driven into the surface of this plate. I think it remains a mystery just how this is working, for me anyway. It's two slots. These things can't pass each other. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inside, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside. What a weird arrangement. Now, how did this get like this too? Well, this is smashed, so that's probably how this got like this. How come this got smashed? Somebody with too big of a screwdriver driving the screw. Interesting, that's got A2 and A3. And then you have this ground out here, which this isn't a ground. This is a connection through an insulated plate. Okay, it's not connected. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. Yes, it is. There's a wire going down. Somewhere. Going down somewhere. And this wire is coming up and basically connecting to the back of just this one. And then disappearing into this apparatus. How do you get a radio to tune from a remote control? You got to have a motor in the radio to do the turning, or you'd have to have like a, I don't know what they call, like a bicycle brake cable type arrangement, in which as you turn the remote tuning thing, there's a little thing turning inside the brake cable, so to speak, and turning the mechanism. I've never seen that. I've seen that within radios, that kind of technique used within a radio, but not as a remote. Okay, I have to think hard about turning this guy on. We've got a lot of things that, like this motor, what's this supposed to do? Wow. This is quite the deal. What about this spring? It just doesn't look right. Maybe it is though. So I think a couple steps here. One is de-dust this thing. That's a big job in itself. Just getting the dust out of it. That's an outdoor job for sure. I wouldn't do that in the house. I have to take this thing outside, dust it off, and clean up the tubes a little bit. It's always nice to have clean tubes. Do I dare power this thing up as it is? I don't think so. I think maybe in this case I'll do a few things first, and also the powering up process can be a thing you do in stages where you power up parts of the radio here and there. I can power the radio not by plugging it in but by using shop power supplies, and I have control over those, so I'm not going to set the whole thing on fire suddenly. So I can find out more and more about the operating condition of the radio before I do anything to it. That might even include tube testing. I often reserve tube testing for down the road, but sometimes, I mean, it does make sense to do that right off the bat, doesn't it? Okay, break time, and yeah, break time for now. Okay, didn't take a lot of thought to come up with a decision, so I think what I'm going to do today is call it quits here. Take this outside in the beautiful sunshine, dust it all off, and get it ready for tomorrow. We'll focus on some tests, including the tube tests, and we'll just sort of progress farther and farther towards actually plugging it in and trying to see if it operates. The chance of a radio like this operating as is with all its old parts, provided nothing is smashed, really cut or broken or shorted as such, the chances of it working to some degree is actually very good. I don't know about that motor. That motor's got me freaked out. Man, I better read up on this radio too. That would be a smart idea. Okay, well, thanks a lot for watching today, and tomorrow we'll get a little further into it. I certainly hope this radio comes back to life because it's a beauty. See ya.